G'day, Hawks fans. Well, once upon a time, the team used to be the Hollywood Hawks, and then all of a sudden, an ugly win. It's good enough. So here we are. We've just taken out the Crows. I've got Mitch here with me tonight. We are ready to talk. What was an interesting game? A slippery deck. Not a great spectacle, but a gutsy win, a gallant, performance to get there. And geez, it must have been interesting in the change rooms at halftime. But Mitch, what's your thoughts? Welcome tonight.
Yeah, it's good to jump on with you, Matty. It's been a while. Yeah, look, I don't think many Hawks fans will be going back to rewatch that game anytime soon. But the more important thing is we got the job done and move on from there. It was a bit of an ugly contested game, and I don't know how I would have fared if I was a neutral supporter watching it. But all that matters is we got the chocolates in the end, and all in all, it was a pretty tough win.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see. I was like, where's the change of game plan? Give it to me. I'm ready. A little bit rough in the midfield there, just sort of a bit light on without warps as well. And yeah, did enough. So just stoked. Welcome one and all. We've got a lot of regulars. Gives you thoughts from the game. Brett's just been representing the Hawks at Lords. Got a sneaky little photo with the Hawks Guernsey on. Well done, mate. It's what 2 goals in a half of football. All right, home ground advantage. I thought we would have done more than that, but just look, fascinating just to see how we got it done in the end. Like the pressure was something that was talked about. The pressure definitely barometer ticked up going into that second half. C-Mac giving us a little bit of excitement, just sort of keeping us on the scoreboard to a degree. It's just, wow. It's like, where are we going to get these scores from in that first half? I was just a bit stressed.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves, wasn't it? Like Adelaide probably should have been 5-6 goals up at halftime, and I was chatting to a few mates and sort of at halftime and thought, well, how we situated, and really the only positive was the scoreboard. That was only, I think it was 16 points at halftime. So that was really the only positive. And then to the boys' credit, and obviously whatever the coaches said to them at halftime clearly worked, and definitely upped the ante after halftime. And the pressure in the third quarter particularly was really good to see. And obviously with the margin being what it was, we knew, okay, well, this is still a really winnable game, but it was going to have to completely flip the performance on its head. And exactly as Con said there, credit to the coaches, and the boys were able to up the pressure, and you could just see the intent was completely different after that halftime siren. And then probably fourth quarter was relatively even. I thought we had a little bit of the nod in terms of sort of who played better, and that showed at the end, really.
Yeah, for sure. This fella, Butts was definitely attacking. He's really, I think, loving every opportunity he's getting at the moment, and he's thrown himself at everything that moves. So it's good to see. When he went forward for that shot on goal, I was like, I was watching with the family, like, a bit stressed. I'm like, nah, he's a small forward. He does well with this. He'll be fine. Oops, I spoke too soon. But, mate, he's having a great crack, and it's good to see. So we need that in the absence of some of our, experienced mids. Getting a few Groovesy Cody here. Absolutely. I like the bit of tough footy. Maury for captain, says Nick. He's stepping up, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a hot topic last year. Obviously, with his All-Australian season, he was in career best form, and we spoke about it nearly every week that he should be captain, and I was certainly one of those people that was saying the same thing. Hasn't had the greatest follow-up year. Not to say that he's been poor, but in terms of probably stats, hasn't been great. But this one was probably closer to his best, and as Con said there, 13 tackles, and that's the sort of the type of performance you want from your captain, especially in such a contested game.
Yeah. Oh, look, we needed it as much as we could get from anyone. TB, another great leader on the night, just giving us a lot against Thilthorpe. Sam mentioned it in the presser. I just thought, yeah, absolutely. He just maybe outmarked once from memory in the game. But it doesn't happen very often against TB. So, geez, what an addition. I just thought to myself, go back to last year, different game style now. But, with Scrimmer, Sis, and Frosty being our big three back there, who we didn't even have any of them this week, Frosty would have found that hard, and Frosty was often the guy that was left down, deep fullback. So that would have been quite a challenge with Thilthorpe. So loved having TB, doing very well. But sorry, just digressing briefly there. But Dilmore, geez, 13 tackles in a game is phenomenal. And what else? He's 23 posies. It's the heart, isn't he? He does just try constantly, and it sets the bar for the rest of the team.
Yeah, for sure. In such a contested game as well, performances like that are, they're really valuable. And he led from the front beautifully, especially such a contested game of footy.
Yeah. Mention of Frosty here. Tom's gone with. Well, I don't know about that. He did kick 3 yesterday, sorry, which was pretty tidy to see. Frosty down forward might be a new lease on life, so we will see. Plenty coming through here. Yep, absolutely leading by example. Thanks, Brooke.
Terry's got a good one. The effort by our defenders, especially early, it was coming our way a lot, and I know they were a little bit inaccurate, but they pumped us for inside 50s in that first half, first quarter especially, and then they followed that up in the second quarter, and I thought we held up, relatively well against a really, really informed forward line. That I think they're 1 or 2 in score. Actually, no, I think they're ranked first in scoring for the year. So that was really positive, even though it was a pretty sort of bleak first half, and then as we touched on, we were able to respond. But yeah, really, the defense, as much as it was in there, they held up quite well.
It was on the way they were peppering the goals, the way it was coming in inside 50s. I don't know what the count was, but just look, we got on top in the second half. But geez, they did enough to hold up the fort. So yeah, solid there for that first half there. I'm still, I like Battle just sort of cruising around, being able to pick up who he needs to pick up, and in the air, on the deck. He's really solid, like the body work. He just knows what he's doing. I'm keen to see him let off the leash a little bit, though. Just maybe that role is just what we need to keep that back half settled, but it might be a bit of a ace up our sleeve come finals. Maybe you let, if we're in with a chance, maybe you let Battle go up forward a little bit more and see what damage you can do there.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think, I think it was from Cody, I don't think you're crazy thinking that Barras and Battle look more comfortable down back without Sis. I think it's hard to sort of answer that properly when Sis we know he's been down on form. I think when we get to Sicily that we all know and love back, I think that might gel a little bit better. But we do know that we do have a lot of players down there that play a very similar role, and potentially maybe with one of those less cooks in the kitchen, I guess. Maybe it gels a little bit better, but I think that's why Mitch has experimented with what the backline looks like. Sicily's gone forward, Scrimshaw's gone forward, Weddle's gone forward, all at different times throughout the year. Even Blake Hardwick's gone forward, which myself I don't like, and I'm hopefully saying that experiment's over. But in terms of swinging quite a few of the backmen down forward, it is a good weapon to have. And do you wonder, once you get what that looks like, okay, who's the swingman? Is it going to be one? Is it going to be Sicily? Is it going to be Battle? Whoever it is, probably Weddle is probably the leading one at the moment. Does that leave the back six sort of gel a little bit better? Probably.
Yeah. Well, it's like Weddle's become that little bit more predictable now, isn't it? Like he's playing a little bit more. He still backs himself, but it's like he's playing in his skin. He's not trying to take on everything and sort of weave and duck a move.
Yep.
As far as forwards, the swingmen, maybe the Hardwick experiment's behind us now. Maybe he's permanently down back. But yeah, I like your suggestions there for some taller. I think Scrim is still an option for us to swing forward if we want to try that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, still got you there. Good. Looks like we've got you a little bit frozen over there. I'll see if we can get you back in.
I'm trying to get the camera working again. Yeah.
All good. So I think it's what else did we get through this game? Let me see. We've got some tons of questions coming in there. We've gone James Bond 007. We've gone everything here tonight. As a lookalike for Maury. Yeah, I like Elite's a big call, but absolutely attributes. Like he's definitely. I think he's just understanding his role and what he brings.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah. I still think my camera's playing up, but I'm still here. I think he's quickly becoming towards elite. Like the amount of different positions in that he's been able to play. He takes. I'm funny. Like he seems to drop a few marks back and then clunk them forward. I don't know if that's just me that's saying that, but there's been a few times where I've sort of been going off at my tally for dropping marks, but then he takes plenty as well. So I think him and probably Sis are the two for me that are the clear sort of swingmen.
Yeah, it was interesting. You usually see him just outrunning everybody. In the last quarter, he actually was a bit gassed. It's probably the first time I've ever seen Weddle gassed. It's I was rubbing my eyes. I was thinking I was dreaming, but no, he actually was looking pretty spent. So he left it all out there. I think in the last quarter, because he'd run, I looked at the tracker, something like 15 kilometers. He only ran about, that was definitely less than a K in the last quarter. So he was cooked, and Maury kept firing, and I think overtook him for the distance for the game. So it's what he does at speed, which is just no one really can keep up with him. So cool. Different thoughts here. Yeah, with Scrim, he needs a bit of a run of consistency, and I think I don't know, Mitch and I were talking just before. He did come off in the second quarter in Box Hill, so hopefully he comes good. I'd love to see just that depth, the option there. It's really solid. If he's versatile, he gives us a tall and a small, speed, smarts. There we go. We've got the big man back. So yeah, it's hopefully Scrim does come good, and we'll see. It's interesting watching you start racing time. It's good we've got a buy, hopefully for the bodies that need a break. Who do you reckon is going to fire up? Question for everyone: who's going to do well in this second half now? Who do you reckon? If you have to have a little punt with Mitch and I here, what would you do? Who would you say is going to have a really big second half of the season?
What are we talking in just anyone, or in terms of the sort of the fringe players?
No, anyone, because I think roles are sort of being established. Come at us with your thoughts and your theories, but yeah, look, if you've got a main one and a fringe, go for it, Mitch. However you see this, but I think we do need more players really putting their hand up in the second half to try and drag us into that top four.
Yeah, who's it going to be? I mean, I hope it's probably 5 or 6 of them, because if we're going to win the flag, then we probably need about 6 or 7 of us to catch fire. But not that I don't think anyone's really going too poorly, but yeah, I'd say Cody and Kerry have both flagged Nick Watson, which we know how important he is and what I guess a live wire is to the team. So I think that's probably a fair call. And then I'm hoping Sicily can get back to some form post bye. He's been probably a little bit out of touch the last sort of 4 or 5 games that we've seen him, and I'm hoping he can get back to some career best form.
Yep. Guinea does look like he's showing good signs, great suggestion there, Troy. If you had to
He's had a good
choose
month. He's
someone,
had a real good month, Guinea.
hasn't he? Yeah,
Since being dropped, really, against Geelong, I think he was dropped against. Yeah, he's been really solid.
yeah. Ollie
Few
wrote a
comments
nice
about
article on Talking Hawks website, so check it out, talkinghawks.com. You'll see that on the homepage.
Good
Go on,
plug,
Mitch.
good plug. We like that. Seeing Mitch Lewis in the comments quite a bit. I sincerely hope that he's one that can really play some. You know what? I don't even mind if he's not back to sort of his best straight away. I just want to see him get consistent games on the park. We he's played 5 games in 2 years or whatever it is. I really just hope that he can get it back out on the park, get fit, get some games into him, and then hopefully by finals, he's raw and ready to go back to his best.
Yep. It'll be good to see. Definitely different people in the mix. People liking Butts. He's a good show for a young fella. Is he going to drag us? Doesn't matter. If he plays out of his skin, that's all we need each week, doing his role. Sicily, a few predictions on Sis. C-Mac. Look, there's been probably 2 or 3 games in my mind that this season he's really starting to just make an impact in games. Like probably not scruff of the neck, sort of where he's taking the game by the scruff of the neck, but he's approaching that. He's 2 or 3 goals and then his score involvements and his run and the pressure. I reckon he's definitely going to a new level this year as well.
Yeah, he's probably one where he probably doesn't quite stand out as much than some of the other smalls like Guinea and Watson, and he doesn't necessarily have to have like the greatest scoreboard impact to really play his role well. If he's bringing those other guys into the team and he works really hard up the ground, but I think he's been pretty solid all year without really lighting it up on the sort of the stats page.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I agree. It's like some good defenders, isn't it? You don't have to be blitzing the stats, making the statisticians get too much trouble. It's they get the job done with less. It's just Peter's had a little thought on Lewis, maybe next year.
Well, yeah, it probably is. Like, really, realistically, with how much footy he's played in the last 2 years, that, like, as I said, we just want to keep him fit. Whatever output he has, I'm less worried about that than keeping him fit. Keep him fit. If he can get through and build a little bit of form and be a really important player come finals, then fantastic. But my priority would be keeping him fit. If we only see him for a couple of games, I imagine that he's not coming back through the AFL. He's got to come back through Box Hill, you would think, just with how little footy he's played. And then just see what happens. If he can get back to some form pretty quickly, and he's in the because he's in our best 23. So cool. If he's going well, put him back in, but keep him fit and don't rush him back too quickly because the poor kid hasn't played a lot of footy in the last 2 years.
Yeah. It's Study Smart is throwing an interesting one here. It's crossed my mind. How will that work? Because if he can stay fit and he can run out games, good. When he's able to run out, 3 and 4 quarters, brilliant. I don't think they'll rush him. I don't think they'll risk him. He's a big unit, but how does he's not a Kelsher. He's not sitting there, flying at everything. He's not as good at the pressure, the speed of Chol and Diaz, our bigs. Gunners has definitely lost a step, but smart enough to get into the right spots. I think Lewis, as a leading option, he can bring the ball down. I'm just fascinated to see what it will look like when he gets back in. Do you think it's going to change that forward structure much?
Yeah, it will. I mean, like, look how good Gunston's been, for the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. It's hard to say, okay, well, once we got Lewis, and then there's also Cal Shadir that we haven't really touched on yet as well. Chol's form over the last, really all season, to be honest, is like, well, Charles not going nowhere based on his form, and then based on Gunston's form as well. It's like, well, it's pretty hard to sort of drop one of them at the moment. But I think like Lewis at his best, and we've only, he's still a pretty young player, so we've only seen sort of bits and pieces of this. But before he started to have a real horror run with injuries, like he was clearly our best forward, clearly the best contested mark that we had. Charles come along there, quite a bit, but I think Charles, once we've got Deer and Lewis back and a fit Lewis back, I think Charles gets better. Like Charles getting number 1, number 2 defender every week. So does he get better then as well?
Yeah.
Which is so yes. To answer your question, yes, it 100% changes the forward structure. In terms of what that looks like, it's just going to depend on sort of how quickly both of them can get back.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a chemistry piece. It'll be fascinating. Just reading this, people going in all directions here in the comments. Very cool. I think we'll look at oppositions and we'll have a couple of different ways that we try to bring the ball into that forward 50 based on matchups, but there's still going to be a little bit of the chaos ball. When the Wiz can get up, the way he does and whatnot, it's fine. He can crumb. They've got enough good crummers. So it'll be interesting to see if it helps us score. I think that magical 100 mark, when we can score more than 100, I think our pressure is generally good enough. Well, when we're chugging along, Hawks are hard to beat when we score 100. It's like back in the glory days in the mid 2010s.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that I can't remember the stat, but when we score 100 points, we haven't lost many over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But even then, like once we do have a couple of the gun forwards back, mainly Lewis and Deer, which I think Deer's going to be back probably a bit quicker than Lewis. As I said, I wouldn't rush him back. He's going to play 4 or 5 matches at Box Hill, probably at least. But then those boys, so you got Charles, Lewis, Deer, potentially playing the same side. Don't know if you go with 3 talls, but potentially. And then them bringing the ball to ground, really nothing against Gunners. Gunners is fantastic, been an amazing player for the club, but he's at a stage now where mainly he's relying on forward craft and being really crafty and getting on a lead rather than sort of cracking packs, bringing it to ground. And Charles is really the only one that we've got there to, aside from when, Meekie might go down there, sparingly, not to say he starts down there, but, in general play. And then brings it to ground when we've got because that's why we did so well last year with Deer crashing the packs. And if he didn't clunk it, he would have, they're bringing it to our smalls feet. And that's when all the smalls went to work. So when we do have that bit of a more flexible combination with those other 2 talls, I can't see why the scoring's not going to improve as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the 3 talls is interesting. I don't know that we've seen Rama come in and maybe have the impact that was hoped. I'm imagining we'd love to see him. He's had some shots, 1 or 2 on goal, hasn't quite done it. Like Tom's suggestion here, though, Sarong has been flying at the VFL level, hasn't done a whole lot wrong when he's come up. Is he a forward option for us? There's a bit of love here for the young man. So if we've got Deer still taking his time to get back in, I don't know if we give Sarong a look in.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's been he's you can't deny the form that he's in. But I don't know. There's only so many spots, and it's a big step up. It's a really big step up from you've seen that a few times with a few players this year, going from VFL to AFL. I mean, give him a shot because it could work and it could work really well. But yeah, I'm not sure. There's only so many spots. That's the thing. That's the thing. Who comes out?
Well, there you go. Sarong playing wing at Box Hill. So if you're seeing him getting more of the ball there in that sort of a position, he's got a bit of tank to him as well, which is good. All right, let's come back to the match. How did you see that? How are you feeling in that last quarter, Mitch? We're getting down to those last couple of minutes there. Saw the big Marvs put his hand up.
Yeah, I was very nervous, sitting on the edge of the couch, actually watching the last quarter, and I just kept thinking, just the way the game was getting played and how low scoring it was. I just let's just hit the front, and then go from there. And then it was Croc that put us in front, I think. And then they quickly got another one. Keys, I think, got another one. And then thankfully, lived down our end for a few minutes, and then I think Chol set up a few, and then to Gunston, and then to Newcombe, which was pretty good. And then, thankfully, they missed a few pretty late. They missed a few early too, but as did we. I think at one point there was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was 11 points kicked in a row between the third and the fourth, and nearly full time since we kicked that goal. It was literally 11 points, not either way, but combined 11 points.
Yeah, it was nuts, and you just waiting for one to drop for them or for us, and jumping off the couch. And
well, it felt like that. It felt like they were worth double really late. Like it was like if they kicked the next one, might have only been like 8 points, but it felt like 20. and the same thing once we hit the front, it might have only been 4 points, 3 points, but it felt like 10. It was tough. It wasn't a great game of footy, but it was very contested, and I think it was close enough. I think where you learn that these are two pretty good sides, and obviously the conditions had a bit to do with it as well. But yeah, not a great game to watch. Nothing that's really going to make the highlight too much, but in the end, a really, really tough win.
Yeah, yep. Just wrapped to see Chol's pressure right at the end. Just really that rundown, just to lock it back in for us and give us that chance to get that last shot on goal. So credit to the big man.
Game saving, really, wasn't it? Like they had that was their last roll of the dice, and they were out, and he was able to close that. And I probably not this year, but I was maybe a little bit critical on Joel last year, and he's proved me wrong in spades. I thought he's been fantastic all year, really. And as I mentioned before, as we get potentially a few back, I think he'll only get better. So yeah, that was fantastic, and I like this comment here from Jeb that it was good to see the boys able to play sort of ugly, greasy football, because everyone talks about the Hollywood Hawk, especially from the end of last year. How flashy we are and fast on the outside, but when it does slow down and be that really contested brand of footy, it was good to see us dig in, and especially with how, well, let's be honest, we were outplayed in the first two quarters pretty much all around the ground. So to dig in like that and get the win was is there a tougher win that we've had this season?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think Sam Mitchell might have even made reference to that in the presser. It's and someone earlier, sorry, don't recall the name, but asked about was the conditions, was it a factor? Interested to hear us discuss it. Look, clearly it was, and I think I thought our home advantage there, knowing the ground as well as we do, and knowing it's going to be a wet deck, they look at the sky, they know how it is. They know it's going to be the dew and it's going to be a bit greasy and whatnot. So you prepare for that, and we didn't bring it in the first half. Is it in a nutshell? They were all over us. They were attacking. I think the conditions were a factor that they played us very hard and we weren't ready for it. And we were trying to overuse the ball in the first half, and that cost us. So that's, as far as the conditions there, we made the adjustment at half time and did much, much better. And it's not like the slipperiness went away.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. Like, yes, it was definitely a factor. We were able to adjust though. Like, I just saw one earlier before. I'm just trying to find it now. Dominic, we did play a shocking first half, mate, and then after halftime, as you said, had two options, could drop their heads and give up, lose the game. As I said, it was only 16 points, but it felt like 30, 35 points. But to come out like that and respond, you could tell from obviously, third quarter, we get a quick clearance, kick a goal within, I think it was within like 45 seconds or something. But then just our intent and the pressure that we're willing to put on the ball then, and it was almost a reverse of the first half, and then sort of evened up a little bit in the last quarter. But I'd still say that it was nearly the reverse of the first half, with Adelaide sort of dominating, and then all of a sudden they couldn't sort of get their game going, and they were resorting to just quick kicks that would turn over, and they were set up really, really well behind the ball most of the night. They were, like, to be honest, every kick that come out of defensive 50 seemed to go straight down their throats. It was an outnumber everywhere, really. But as I said, like, credit to turn that around and really, as I said, it was almost the reverse in the second half of the first half.
Yeah. Well, there was one bloke out there with a Superman cape on, and his name is Jarman MP. What was he? 8 rebound 50s, 10 intercept possessions, 756 meters gained. He was everywhere. I reckon they were waking up after the match, and Jars was in their nightmares, the Crows. So I think he's had an absolute cracking game. Interview, as he does as a absolute professional. Very honest. I do love Jars, and he's really putting his hand up at the moment. So it's I think he was a large ingredient as to why we won this game too. I know you don't sort of single out players and you talk about what we're doing as a team, but he in this game was very special.
Yeah, probably like one of the main reasons why sort of the game swung in our favour, and especially the sort of role that he plays. Like, there was quite a few plays where he's running off halfback straight to the middle of the ground. And whilst that's a massive part of today's game, it really wasn't on Friday night. Like, it was really contested, not a whole heap of transition from defense to forward 50. It was sort of more when Adelaide really were looking good early. It was more out of the clearance, and then again the same thing with us in the third quarter. So for him to sort of really, if you pardon the pun, sort of burst out of the pack and put on a performance like that, especially when the game was on the line late, and it went against the trend of the game, really.
Yeah, well, it was a absolutely cracking game, and he just pulled it out of nowhere, and it's almost like it was a bit dry for Jars. I don't know what the special grip he had on his hands, but it was working, whatever he was doing. So love it. It's lots of comments that I've not been able to keep up here with on Jars, and I do want to go back to Brookie's called out Lord Meek. We've got comments here. Here we go. So I'm having to go back way too far. There we go. There it is. Outstanding game. Absolutely agree. I think he's centre clearances. I'll look it up, but it's for the efforts the second efforts as a ruckman, just phenomenal. There you go. 7 clearances. He's our highest clearances for the game. Nashi with 5, Butts with 4. So it's 101 ruck contests. The man is just an absolute beast with 40 hit outs. So he absolutely held his own. He rarely lowers his colours, and we needed that when our midfield was probably struggling.
Yeah, in a tough matchup too. Like, Riley O'Brien's a pretty good ruckman, and very strong, and gets away with a little bit in the ruck contests, I will say. Gets away with a lot, actually. Meek's been awesome. He was really good last year, and then he's backed that up this year. I don't think it's outlandish to say that he's a top 3 or 4 ruckman in the comp. Obviously, we know Gawn's first, but and probably Sherry second. I'd have Meek maybe 4 behind TDK. I don't think it's outlandish at all to say he's top 3, maybe top 4 in the comp.
Yep, agree, 100%. He's backed it up from last year. He's just maintaining nicely. I was really looking forward to when he did play against Maxi. I was thinking Maxi, just let him know who's got the number 1 spot. But anyway, who else was? Look, Nuke. We just touched on the midfield. Always watch him closely because talking Hawks sponsor. It's I think he's just going to get better through this period because he's going to learn all the tricks that all the defenders, all the mids play on him. when he's under the absolute heat and the spotlight, because he's meant to be that number one, putting his hand up and getting things done, without perhaps as much assistance, how much better is he going to be when he's got Warps back in, when he's got Day back in? It's like we talk about who can have a better second half of the season. If he gets, that core midfield back, he could be one that absolutely just thrives.
Yeah, the one for me is Day getting back, and Warple will help as well, obviously. But yeah, Day's the one for me. That's really going to help Nuke, and he was sort of a little bit tagged out of the game early, and then was able to respond. And the one thing I like, he's been hitting the scoreboard too, which is really good. Interesting one from Tom. Unfortunately, O'Brien smash meet, bring in Reeves to support. I did see one early about Tom. I think you were the same comment, mentioning to bring in Reeves and play 2 ruckmen. I think it's tough when Reeves isn't incredibly versatile, and I don't mean any insult by that to Ned, but if you've got someone that is a really good ruckman sort of around the ground as well, like a Meek, like your Gorn Sherrys, those sort of guys, then potentially can get away with playing 2. But I just don't think Reeves adds enough versatility around the ground to play 2, to play 2 ruckman. When he's not in the ruck, where does he play? Like, do you have him just wasting a bench spot when he's not in the ruck? Yeah, I'm not sure. If he was a little bit more versatile, potentially could look at it. But yeah, I just don't think he's quite agile enough.
Yeah, we might see it. I don't see it being something that we'll stick with for a lot of games. Yeah, I think matchups will be a factor. And look, Ned's definitely got improved a lot. I think he's strengthened his upper bodies. He's started to make the adjustment in his own personal game that he needs to with the rule change in the ruck. So, yeah, you never know. We'll see as the season goes on. There was mention of some of the Hawthorn family, Abby Holmes, Keegan Brooksby, welcomed.
Did say that. Yep.
It was a little baby. Was it a boy? I think it was.
I believe so.
Yep. So someone cheekily said it might be a mother son for the Crows, but gee, she was a weapon up forward when she was playing. But all the best to them. Hopefully, all is well in their world. What have we got there in the comments, mate? I'll just
mention of Brooks mentioned Dimmer playing a ripper game. I thought he was fantastic. I think he played on Rochelle most of the game and a little bit of time on Rankin as well. And they had very little impact in the game. I liked when Isaac Rankin kicked. Actually, sorry, I think it was Isaac Rankin that kicked the Crows goal to get him back in front, if I'm remembering correctly. And the commentators were carrying on about how good he was. And I actually might have thought that he didn't really touch it until then. Hardwick had kept sort of both of them under wraps. But look, I think he was good enough when he went forward, and nothing against Dimmer for what he did when he did go forward. But I just don't think it's the role to play him. I believe at the start of the year we did like a mock round 1 selection, and my first pick was Blake Hardwick. He's the first magnet on the board. He's the most reliable. You send him to their most dangerous small forward. Every opponent, you just send him to their most dangerous small forward, and he gets the job done. And at worst, he halves it. So I'm hoping that that's the end of that little experiment. Try some others down there as swingmen, but yeah, for me, Hardwick, his magnet goes on the board, and it goes in the defensive 50.
Yeah, he's absolutely solid, and yeah, between Rochelle and Rankin, we definitely kept them quiet by their standards. So both always threatened to rip a game apart. So Rochelle goalless for the game, 2 points, and Rankin 1-1. So they did the homework, and Dimmer was part of it. So very well done to Dimmer. So question here around Rama. Has he been perhaps playing a role? If I ask you a question in a different way, Jason, I think for him just to get another game, he's absolutely doing enough. If he comes back after the bye, I think you can definitely point to he's knowing what to do, where to go, even though you want to be having shots on goal and kicking goals and whatnot. He's it's a good point there. Is he a little bit more of an aid to the tools up forward and give Chol a little bit more breathing room? I think he is, but I think he should be criticised for that. They did replay it a few times when he didn't quite shepherd or commit to that shepherd of Wizard, who, and even if you don't shepherd and a bloke gets past you, use your voice. Let the Wiz know that someone's on him, because he would have put on the afterburners and it wouldn't have been a problem. But he's got to learn from that. So, but I think he's been okay. Is it enough to hold his spot for the game after the bye? That's against the Roos, isn't it? Maybe not.
For now, maybe. What I will say is I haven't mind what I've seen from him so far. Yes, like, okay, in terms of breaking a game open, taking heaps of contested marks, hasn't there yet. But he's very, very, very early on in his career. And, when I jump on here and, and a lot of comments we see, so many guys that are going really well at VFL level that everyone wants to see in the side and do well at AFL level, which, of course, we all want. But it is a big step up from VFL to AFL. And I think with a few of these guys, you can see that. And it's not to say that none of them they're not up for it. They absolutely have got the potential. But it takes time. There's not too many people that have come in from a sort of VFL level and go, bang, and take the game by the scruff of the neck. One thing I will say about that shepherd, I actually think he did relatively well. And then I did just see it. Danielle Cooper has mentioned it on the replay. You can see Ramsden put his hands to his mouth, which I was going to mention because he did literally go like this and was yelling, probably something along the lines of "You're hot, get rid of it."
Very good. Thank you, Danielle.
And I think he had literally tried to get in the bloke's way. I can't remember the name of the Crows bloke that chased him down, but he just didn't give up. Like I'm not, unless he decks the bloke, I'm not too much sure. I'm not too sure what else he could have done.
It was
Josh Worrell, correct?
Yeah.
So I think anyway. Back to Rama. I think persist with him for a little bit. Give him, if we can get him into the side, then persist and see how he goes. And hopefully, he just keeps getting better.
With Rama, just a quick glance. There's 11 pressure acts, which he's equal about 6th amongst the Hawthorn players. So for a tall, that's very decent. There was 3 score involvements, so 2 score launches as well. So he's having those contributions. They definitely don't go unnoticed by the staff. I like that he goes into the ruck as well. I like you got to pick the opponent for him, but he's got a good leap on him. I think he will be a nice backup ruckman for us at times. If you've got a ruck that's really, really strong, seasoned, then those boundary throw-ins and around the ground aren't going to be great. But anyway, you persevere. It's good getting games into him. If I had to call it, I'd say yes. Happy to see him in against the Roos. That's a game where you want to get a little bit of confidence into the lad. Let him fly. Let him have a few pings and goal.
It's a good point. That's probably a good one where you go, okay, yeah, keep him in. It's against North. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah. People agreeing different parts of what we've said there on Rama. Sorry, while I'm cruising through these comments here. Hey, one you might like earlier. Someone asked where that orange head guy is. I think they're talking about Chris Mitch. So,
I saw the comment. I didn't know who he was talking about. I should have known that it was Chris. Chris was actually going to jump on tonight, guys, and I just said, "No, you can sit this one out, mate. I'm jumping on."
I'll find that and I'll show it to him. He'd like that one, I'm sure. So I mentioned of Daz here. I don't know who the context of the conversation is. Good. Daz got some good content going out there.
I think it was Huswaite. I think it was Huswaite in terms of what that was referring to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Okay. I think it was that one. Yeah. So, look, he looked pretty dejected when he went past the camera going into the rooms after the games, Huss. So he's probably pretty filthy that he had been taken out of that one. It's I feel like I'm talking about him nearly every week when he gets a game. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Have you got a view on him, Mitch?
I probably haven't seen quite enough of him to give a sort of fair comment. What I might say is that does he need to put on a little bit of size? Is he just a little bit too small? But if his pace is a worry, the more size he puts on, the slower he's going to get. So yeah, I don't know. I probably haven't seen enough of him to sort of comment fairly. One thing that I have just seen from Cody, Oscar Allen has done a suspected ACL, which I know the Hawks were. There's been a bit of talk around Oscar Allen and the Hawks. It's not. Wow. If he is someone that we want, that's not great. Well, I mean, it's not great for Oscar anyway. Don't get me wrong, but
no.
Yeah, that's not good to see.
No. Interesting. So yeah, we'll keep rolling with the punches here, mate. I think what else we got? Makey more Gunners. Nice game. End up with 2, wasn't it? Yep, 2 goals.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was the only one that and dished off the winning goal to Newcomb. And no, I'm sure that no one in the comments is going to tell me that it was a throw because I hope we're all Hawks fans. But no, that was not a throw. That was not a throw. I mean, really, I thought Gunners was excellent. What he's been able to do for this year, in a little bit of a different way to, sort of the, I guess his prime. He is still relatively accurate, probably not as good as maybe 5-6 years ago, but still very accurate. And mate, at halftime, he was the only one that looked like scoring. Yep. He was the only one that looked like it. And then I was able to get involved. And I think like his forward craft and his footy smarts for the rest of the forwards as well is. I think that like Charles will especially will be learning a lot from him. And then once Deer and even Lewis get back in. As Deer and Lewis get back in, you'd imagine that Gunners probably comes out. So what he's going to be able to pass on to those guys, he's going to be fantastic. And based on his form, depending on sort of other players, on other players' fitness, has he potentially earned another year really if he wants to go on.
I think if the body's up to it, absolutely. It's the mind as well, clearly, with an athlete. But look, I think we have 4 Melbourne games in the home second half of the season in the home run. I think if we do long trips, I don't know if they're going to take Gunners. I think he might sit those ones out just for the body and the travel and whatnot. But so that'll be interesting to see. But he's not really skipping a beat. 8 scoring involvements, so he's topped that for us. 6 shots on goals for 2-3. All right, but two goal assists, and yeah, I think you're nail on the head. What value is he bringing to just guide, coach, mentor? That voice, that experience, just phenomenal. So the body positioning, even when he does have, to compete, he's still. The speed and Gunner's style in those young years, he's adapted nicely. So, we will see if Gunners keeps firing. I'm pretty confident that he will, and I'd like to see him go on next year. So, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, based on his form, he's probably earned that sort of right to call it. One thing I did sort of see was CJ coming on as a sub. I thought he was fantastic. After obviously he only played 2 quarters, but I thought he really was played a key role in the way we're able to turn that game around with pressure and a little bit more speed on the ball.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely gave us a lot, and Huss for speed. Then you bring on CJ with the zip. It's very different dynamic you're going to have in the plays you're bringing in. And I was thinking just with him. I would have loved to have seen him back himself a couple more times, knowing that he had played, 1-2 less quarters. And really good point by, who was it here? Shane. having not played full games, he's got a bit in the tank. They do run them after the game and whatnot. It's not quite the same conditions, but yeah, that'll be interesting to see if he does get a full game. Yeah, Box Hill's got a bye this week as well, so there's no option there for him to play 4 quarters, but we'll see. Definitely doing enough to be around the or knocking on the door again if he's not in for a full match. That emergency sub, he's playing a pretty good role at times. Siege.
Yeah, it's if I think he's potentially got the ability to get back into the starting side, but
Yep.
If he's the sub, fresh legs, him coming into the game, like you could do worse than having CJ as your sub, and he's pretty versatile too. So in terms of the speed being injected to the game, as we saw on Friday night, if that's what his role going to be, fantastic.
Yeah, he's coming at half time and he's clocked up 338 meters gained, and that was our 8th highest. So not bad for a half, young Siege.
Some of the I've seen most weeks now in the rooms, the Hawks social media account goes around and they ask who the best on ground was, and CJ got two players say that he was the best on ground and he was a sub and came on at half time. Now, whether you're looking after your mates, I don't know, but it's still pretty good.
They might have a little bit of fun with that, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably the case. But I mean, it's still he was, for what he added coming onto the ground at halftime. And I think it was smart for Mitchell to pull that sub call pretty early. It's not uncommon, but you don't see too many tactical subs at halftime. So
you're right.
Tommy's asking for to bring back Daz. I've seen that a couple of times. I would love to get Daz back on the show. Daz is doing his own thing and doing incredibly well at that, which is why he hasn't been on Talking Hawks.
Yeah, no, he's going for the father-son. I don't know if Talking Hawks will get the son. We might. We'll try. We'll. We've got. We'd love to have Daz back. One thing I will call out, just looking at CJ stats. So 3 inside 50s, 4 rebound 50s, brilliant. Just 6 turnovers in a half. So look, he's coming on. He's having a crack. So we know we get a little bit of that with CJ at times, but definitely showed some good spirit. Mate, I think we might wrap it up shortly, but
I think Peter's got a relatively good question here that we can sort of wrap up on, especially going into the bye. As the last time I was on was at the beginning of this sort of 5-week pretty tough stretch. So are we happy with the 2-3 result, given who we've played? I am going to say I'm not giving it like a real big tick, but I'm not going to give it like a fail either. I think the Gold Coast game is a pass. We did pretty well up there. It's one of the hardest road trips in footy at the moment. And then obviously some disappointing performances against Collingwood and Brisbane, particularly the Brisbane one for me. Collingwood played about a perfect home and away game as you can get a couple of weeks ago. And then what? Doggies, good win against the Doggies, and then a really tough win against Adelaide. So I think, it's probably about, if you had said to me at the start, if we go 2-3, are you going to be happy? I would have said I'll take it. Not necessarily like glowing. I would have preferred it be the other way around. But I think there's enough there to like on, post-bye and building to finals that, if we get a few things right, we might be okay. But we do have another tough. I think we got a couple of weeks where it's not too bad, and then we got another tough stretch going into finals. So
I wouldn't use the word happy. I'm accepting, knowing some of the form that we've been in. So as it's turned out, it was going to be a tough patch, and we've had a few injuries and whatnot going on. So who have we got coming into? Someone shouted out, Daz absolutely has his own YouTube channel. So Daz Talks Footy, check it out. If you're missing Daz, let him know he's father son. We're putting a claim in there. But what have we got? So North after the bye, St Kilda, Dockers, Dockers in Optus, Port Adelaide in Tassie. That'll be a cracker. And then Carlton at the G. So it'll be interesting. Teams don't always come off the bye too well. I hope we can get it done against the current 16th place North to get it going again. And then St Kilda, all right, you'd like to think we can notch up a few wins here. We need to get that percentage up a little bit more again. So wins is the main thing at this point. But there we go. A few ratings on what you'd like to see. Well, we may end up having one more live stream during the bye round. We've got a few things in mind, so keep your eyes on the socials. Mitch, it's been great, mate. You've dressed up. I know you don't always wear this all weekend when the Hawks win, but sometimes you might catch Mitch walking around the streets donning all the gear. Well,
I actually have worn at least one version of a Hawks polo to work the last 2 days. So I rep the colours when we win. It's good. I rep them when we lose too. But it's good. It's good to see when we get the chocolates. And it was, as I said, it was a tough game, but a tough win.
Yep. Absolutely, mate. It's been good. If you want to just savor it, we've had Tim and Liam on the podcast. Check that out. They're 6 Points Pod, and we will keep a few things rolling in this bye round. So to one and all that have joined us tonight, thank you very much. Mitch, you definitely take the points tonight, mate. You've got the colours. I'm just in the plain black. So, mate,
you got to hold you behind you, mate. You're right.
Oh, that's a great man. It's a bit of Jesus in the background, isn't it? We Hall of Famer now. He's done very well, our Hodgie. So, well, to one and all, thanks, and we'll catch you all soon.
Thank you. Go Hawks.
And the outro is not playing, so I'll just bail.